I just want to share something God has uh, just kind of laid on my heart this week. There's just so many of us that struggle with hearing from God, right? Um, a lot of us complain that, how do I know when God is talking to me? Or um, how come whenever I pray, I feel like nobody's listening? Or, just along that line of thinking, we just feel like we are constantly praying and we're not hearing an answer. And so I just want to encourage those of us who may feel this way that God is listening and He does hear you. Um, Lately, what I've been convicted of is the idea of opportunity, right? Um, we want to hear from God, but we should be honest with ourselves. How many opportunities are we giving God to speak to us? And just imagine, I just imagine God is trying to say something to us, but because we're so busy, because we put Him on a timer, we don't necessarily have the patience to wait and hear what He has to say for us, say to us, rather. And that's been my conviction lately. And not so much that I felt like God wasn't speaking to me, but I just felt like I wasn't hearing anything. And what I ended up hearing was that you don't have time for me. That's why you're not hearing anything. You have more time for other things, and you refuse to give me the space or the opportunity to actually speak to you. When was the last time you just sat in silence and listened for what God has to say? Um, we do things like that for maybe a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and then we dip. But God is like, I have so much for you in my word. Reading the word is another opportunity for God to speak to us. Connecting with other believers is another opportunity for God to speak to us. We shouldn't be in a rush when it comes to interactions with the Lord, right? Um, when we are engrossed in other things like binging shows, we give the time, right? And so I think that to the extent that we submit our time to God is how much we will hear from Him. And He's not going to communicate to us on our term, on our terms as we demand for Him to do so. But God honors sacrifice, right? When we sacrifice our time, when we lay before Him, when we wait on Him to listen, to hear Him, He's not going to let us walk away empty handed. And so, yeah, let's dedicate time and opportunities, fellowship with other believers, consuming His word and content that glorifies Him. Those are opportunities for us to hear from God. And um, I think we should ask ourselves, like, how much do I expose myself to the things of God? How many opportunities, how many doors do I open for God to speak to me? And I think we would rethink our complaint when we take stock of that. I know I did. Um, yeah.